Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 13th day of January of 2026. Currently in downtown Wausau at our WXCO studios at the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street. A little bit of light rain is falling. There's actually some blue spots up there as well. Coming into work this morning, was looking up, saw the rain coming down. Also saw a little bit of a break in the clouds. Temperature stands at 36 degrees. I am Chad Holmes. It is the Tuesday edition of the Chad Holmes Show here on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Also, again, we are on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, the 98.9 WXCO channel. Be able to see us there as well. And don't forget, first hour of the show here on 98.9 WXCO. But we have 2 hours on this program. And the second hour is exclusively online at youtube.com and also on our app, the Civic Media app, and also on WXCO.FM. If you go to WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, and on the 98.9 WXCO part of the app, you can listen in to our show in the second hour on the Sports 2 stream. Again, first hour is on the main channel here on 98.9 WXCO. But then hour number 2, again, youtube.com, the 98.9 WXCO channel, and WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, the Sports 2 stream. And you'll want to stick around for the second hour today. You want to stick around for the second hour every day. Number one, because we always wrap up with Ian Welsh and the number for the day quiz. But today, we're going to have a visit from an old friend. And I know that a lot of folks are missing him already. In fact, I'm missing him already. But it's great to have a chance to catch up on what's going on in the news with the one, the only Mr. Pat Kreitlow. Yep. Pat Kreitlow will be with us. We'll have plenty of time to talk to Pat coming up, starting at 9:06 this morning. Again, if you want to catch that, you'll have to tune in to our YouTube channel, youtube.com. Again, to search out 98.9 WXCO, or you can tune in as well, again, on WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, Sports Stream 2. And 9:06, Pat Kreitlow with us. Coming up here in the first hour of the program, we're going to bring back a short part of a discussion we had on our online hour, because I want to give you a sense of what you may be missing if you're not tuned in for the second hour. You can hear us here on the radio in hour number 1, but we want you to stick with us in hour number 2. And we had a chance to talk to Christine Daniels from the Good News Project, and we'll hear part of that conversation. Whet your appetite just a little bit for what we do in hour number 2. And also, in our second hour, we spend a little bit more time as well opening things up. If there's something that you want to talk about, and whether it's in the first hour or the second hour, something we want to do here in 2026 is to be able to let your voice be heard, let your ideas be heard, your story ideas, things that you want to talk about. And Ian wants to hear your voice as well. He wants to pick up that phone and hear your voice, and you can call us up at 715-814-9330. That's 715-814-9330, and be able to join us on the program. If there's something that we are talking about, you want to add your 2 cents, feel free. If there is something we're not talking about that you think we should be talking about, we invite you to call in as well. That's 715-814-9330, and we would love to hear from you and be part of this program. And the person that you will be calling up, the man who will pick up that phone, is our in-studio engineer. He is Ian Welsh. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
How are you feeling this morning?
Feeling pretty good.
Ian,
The sun was coming out this morning, so it was nice to see a little bit of blue sky. But I had to be careful getting to my car in the driveway because there was quite a bit of black ice on the driveway, which is very hard to see. So I did slip a little bit. I didn't fall, but you gotta be careful because the black ice is a lot harder to see than regular ice.
no, you're exactly right, and especially when you get as old as I am, you start breaking some hips. We don't want that.
Definitely don't want that at all.
It's quite a mix, as you said, to have some little bit of peaks of sunshine and also have some of the rain falling. Hey, and folks out there, enjoy this because right now it's 36 degrees. It feels warm. It's nice and warm out there. And
it actually did feel pretty good this
morning. I know. It feels great when it gets a little bit warmer after we've been so used to the cold weather, but we're going to cool down just a little bit after today. And let's quickly, for you folks getting ready to start your workday, give you a look at the weather forecast for today. Again, there is a slight chance of some light rain here early, especially between now and 9 a.m. Then a slight chance of showers after 3 p.m. Otherwise, mostly cloudy and a high near 37 degrees. West winds 13 to 17 miles per hour, gusting as high as 31 miles per hour. Tonight, a chance of sprinkles and flurries before 9 p.m. Then a slight chance of snow showers after midnight. Otherwise, mostly cloudy and a low of 13. Northwest winds, again, rather gusty at 16 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30 miles per hour. But then with all that wind, and often when that wind comes through, that means they're blowing through a cold front. And that's what's happening here because Wednesday we'll get sunshine, partly sunny, but much cooler weather. High of only 16 degrees tomorrow. And again, there'll be some of that wind. I'll put some wind chill factors into play. Tomorrow, northwest winds 13 to 16 miles per hour, gusting as high as 29 miles per hour. Wednesday night, partly cloudy, a low of 2 above zero. Yeah.
Wow.
And then Thursday, partly sunny, a 40% chance of snow in the afternoon, and a high of 21 degrees. And in fact, as we go into the weekend, it gets even colder. In fact, looking ahead, this is, again, it could change between now and the weekend. But right now, forecast has Saturday a high of 13 and Sunday a high of 9 above zero. And even Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a high of 10. So it's going to be, again, bundle up weather. So this morning, as you go off to whatever you're doing, whether it's work or school, whatever it may be, enjoy the warmth because otherwise it's going to get cold.
Don't put away the heavy jackets quite yet.
Do
folks.
not.
You still need them.
Do not. Hey, I'm also excited because we're here in 2026, and I want to be one of your sources because let me start by saying, again, it's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And one of the things that allows this country to continue in a democratic way is an electorate that is informed. When you go to the polls, you have to be informed in order to get the proper type of representation to continue the grand experiment. And here in 2026, we have some significant elections, and we're going to talk to a lot of folks. And I want this program to be one of those sources to make you a better member of our democracy.
Yeah.
And I have been, yesterday, in fact, I spent some time after the show reaching out to the candidates for governor of Wisconsin. And that's just one of the races we're going to keep an eye on. But yesterday, my focus was on the gubernatorial candidates because last week we had David Crowley on the program.
Great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to allow all the candidates, whether Democratic or Republican, and I'm going to say it right here. During the course of 2026, we are going to have Republicans on these airwaves. And I don't want to hear you complaining of why do you have that person on the air? The reason I will have these people on the air is because that is the fair thing to do. They don't have to come on. They don't have to come on. But if I offer time to a Democratic candidate for a certain office, I think it's the only fair thing is to allow the Republican to have the same opportunity to speak to you. So again, I know that there are times where it's like, oh, why do you have that person on? Well, because number one, they're running for office, and everybody that runs for office deserves a certain level of respect because that is one of the main uh, pillars of our system. So
Absolutely.
I'm just going to warn everybody right now. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you say, why do you have that person on the air? I will let you know when they're on the air. If you don't want to listen to that segment, then don't listen to that segment. But at the same time, the idea of saying, well, you shouldn't have so and so on the air. Yes, I think there is a line. There was a mayoral candidate in the past who was so disgusting that I did not want that person on the air because I just don't want to spread that kind of garbage. But again, having disagreements on policy is one thing. Having moral, I think, disagreements is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But the candidates, I think, deserve an opportunity if they want to try to speak to you, our listenership, to have that opportunity as well.
It's an
But
open invitation.
but I already know that coming up tomorrow morning, it's going to be interesting because I mean we've heard of a lot of the candidates for the governorship. And there's a couple of them that we haven't heard as much about. And one of which is a 22-year-old, a
Wow.
22-year-old that is running for governor of the state of Wisconsin. And
Interesting.
his name is Zachary Roper. And you're going to get a chance to hear from him tomorrow morning at 8:06. So right at the top of the show, we're going to have Zachary Roper join us via StreamYard tomorrow morning to talk about why he's running for governor at the ripe old age of 22. So we're looking forward to that. Coming up in the early afternoon on Thursday, former lieutenant governor and candidate for the United States Senate, and now a candidate for the governorship, Mandela Barnes, will be paying a visit to
Hmm.
our studios. And we're going to get a chance to sit down with Mandela Barnes. And we'll hear that conversation coming up on Thursday morning. And also, I heard back from a few of the other candidates, and we're ironing out times to get them on the airwaves as well.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to having the opportunity to hear in more of a long form with some of these candidates for the governorship of the state of Wisconsin. So again, tomorrow morning, 8:06, we'll look forward to hearing from Zachary Roper, and then tune in at 8:06 on Friday morning to hear from Mandela Barnes as we continue to talk to the folks that are running for governor here in 2026. And of course, we're going to be
Yeah.
bringing on some local candidates as well as we continue, both with the spring election and also the November general election as well. So lots of excitement coming up here on this program. So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll be able to tune in and learn a little bit about some of these candidates and make your vote the most informed vote that you possibly can.
Absolutely. And if you have questions you want to ask the candidates when they're on the air, we will keep the phone lines open if you want to talk to them and talk to them over the phone and see where they stand on certain
Well,
issues.
at least on those that are not recorded. So, I mean, we're talking to Mandela Barnes in a recorded sense because he's in Wausau
True.
coming up Thursday, so he's not going to be able to be in the morning. But I'm more than happy to have him stop by when he has a chance. So, but you're exactly right. We're hoping to have your voice be heard in these conversations as well.
Absolutely.
The time is 8:19, again, 36 degrees here in downtown Wausau. Pat Kreitlow joining us at 9:06, so don't forget about that. And we'll take a time out and be right back. It is the Chad Holmes Show on 98.9 WXCO.
Time, time, time. See what's become of me. Time, time, time. See what's become of me. While I looked around for my possibilities, I was so
Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM. Online at WXCO.FM, as I said. Mobile devices as well by searching WXCO. And on the Civic Media app. And if you have not downloaded the Civic Media app yet, what are you waiting for? It is free. It is a terrific resource. Just go to your app store, search Civic Media, download the app, and then you, at your fingertips, will have all the stations on the Civic Media radio network and be able to tune in to whatever you want, wherever you are. With Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes. Saw an interesting story this morning in the Wausau Pilot and Review.
Oh, yeah?
And we're talking about, democracy and being the 250th anniversary.
Right.
And one of the things that is always disappointing is when you see races that have no candidates. And this story talks about that one district in both Marathon and Lincoln counties will not have candidates listed on the ballot for the 2026 spring election for their county boards. And that means that the seats will likely be filled by write-in candidates. And basically what happened is that there was the filing of non-candidacy paperwork by the incumbents, and then no other folks stood up and said, we're going to run. And that's disappointing because, again, the system doesn't work unless a lot of the chains are together. One of the chains is what we talked about earlier, is an informed electorate, being aware of where candidates stand and having a knowledge of what the candidates would do while in office. But another aspect is having quality candidates to choose from. And if you don't have anybody on the ballot, then you have nobody to choose from.
Yeah.
There is, in all likelihood, going to be folks that decide, well, now that there's openings, perhaps they'll run as a write-in. And but there's something, different about that. And I think in some ways it's not as healthy a way of running our democratic system. But the two seats, one in Marathon County and one in Lincoln County, that do not have anybody currently that will be running, and there will be nobody on the ballot, is Marathon County District 21 and Lincoln County District 13. Marathon County has been represented by Supervisor Gail Marshall, Lincoln County by Supervisor Alan Bishop, and both are not seeking re-election. Of course, the spring election will be held on Tuesday, April 7th, and really something to keep note of. The primaries, for any seats that do have primaries, is coming up in just about 5 weeks' time on Tuesday, February the 17th.
Yeah.
So that's not very far off, to say the least.
Be here before we know it, for sure.
According to the pilot, Marathon County Clerk Kim Trueblood says that the deadline to register as a write-in candidate with her office is noon on the last Friday before the election, which is April the 3rd. There is a benefit of registering because even if you don't register, if you have write-in votes, then they can be counted. But she said that the benefit of registering as a write-in is that the election inspectors can then provide voters with the names of registered write-ins upon request, because if you don't put in the right name, if you have the wrong spelling, there's a lot of things that can go wrong when you don't have that name right in front of you.
Absolutely.
But so if you do register, then the folks at the polling places can, if there's somebody who says I'm interested in writing in so-and-so's name, Ian Welsh, for example, then they can say, okay, here's how Ian Welsh is spelled. So to make sure it gets counted, because that's one of the things, especially in this era. I mean, we see so many folks trying to toss ballots in a very unhealthy way, in my opinion.
Not healthy at all.
But again, that is something that people have to think about right now. So again, I just think that it's disappointing, again, that especially there's this idea you got President of the United States and Governor of Wisconsin and the United States Senate, House of Representatives.
Yep.
In so many ways, the most important levels of government are the ones that are closest to you, whether it's the school board, whether it is a county board, whether it is a village board or a town council, whatever it may be.
Superintendent.
Superintendent, well, I mean, whatever. It is a case where if you are really interested in making your community a better place, that's where you need to start. And that's, again, I think that anybody that runs for office deserves that respect, whether you disagree or agree with them on many of the issues.
Mhm.
There is something that is very right about throwing your head in the ring and you're basically putting yourself out there to be criticized, to be questioned. And I just think that when you go into the voters booth and see a race that has nobody running for it, that is something that is that's not right within our system. So again,
No, it's not.
so if you're somebody within these districts, uh, and you were thinking about maybe running, look into it, because now there's a different option. You can become a write-in. And hey, I mean, one of the hard things is when you run for office is to be in a situation where it's an extremely uphill struggle to win. If there's nobody on the ballot, you got a much better chance of winning. So if you're somebody that wants to serve, maybe you should take a deeper look into this and to be able to serve your community in some way, in this case on a county board, whether in Lincoln County or Marathon County.
Yeah.
We have an information update coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Included will be the Farm Report with Pam Yankee. We'll have a look at the weather as well. Coming up after that, we're going to hear from Christine Daniels. Always fun to talk to Christine. She was with us in our online hour. So wanted to share a part of this. Again, whet your appetite if you're somebody that hasn't been tuned in for our online hour from 9 to 10 a.m. So we'll have that coming up. And again, don't forget, during that online hour at 9:06, we're going to be talking to Pat Kreitlow, from upnorthnews.com, former host here in the morning. But we'll find out what's on Pat's mind and also what he's up to, because I know a lot of folks are wanting to keep up with Pat. The time is almost 8:30 here on 98.9 WXCO. Chad Home Show 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And again, you can also join us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. And that's one of the areas you can go to after 9 o'clock. Again, we hear on the first hour on the radio and online, but our second hour between 9 and 10 each weekday is only online at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel, also at WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app by going to the Sports 2 stream. And one of our conversations in our online hour was with Christine Daniels, the executive director of the Good News Project. And if you weren't tuned in online, here's part of what you missed. There's a lot to talk about, but let's start with some good stuff, because we talked last month about Giving Tuesday. We mentioned the fact that you had a wonderful partner that was matching donations. How did that go?
It was amazing. It was beyond my expectations, actually. So we had set a goal of $35,000, knowing that the first $10,000 would be matched by Covantage Cares Foundation, and that there would be additional donations on top of that, depending on how much they had left with all of their giving partners. We ended up raising just a little over $40,000 by ourselves. And then with all of the matches and everything else, we ended up with the check for $65,000.
So your goal was $35,000.
Yes.
And you got to $65,000.
It was just phenomenal.
What does that say?
You know, it feels really good that we have support like that. Right?
Makes you very happy.
It makes me so happy. Yeah. You know, there were a few exceptional donors that saw this coming and were watching throughout the first week and gave some very significant donations at the beginning of the second week, just to bump us at least to our goal. And then we just kept fundraising, and it was beyond my expectations. I'm just so thrilled to end 2025 that way, because it was a very uncertain year for fundraising for nonprofits.
We've talked in the past about, you know, whenever we do something, number one, you want it to be something that you can be proud of and that it fulfills you. But also when you do get that positive reinforcement, because I've said this to Ian, I've said this to other people when it comes to either this or doing games or anything like that. I said, I don't want to do it just to hear my own voice.
Right.
You know, you can feel like you're doing a good job, but you don't want it to be in a bubble. When you get that kind of feedback, it says you're not in a bubble, that you are actually touching people's lives. And that's the whole point of what the Good News Project is, isn't it?
Yeah. So ultimately what that money means is that we can serve more people and serve them well, and not have to think about at this point cutting any programming, because that's always on the table, right? If you don't hit your fundraising goals, what do you have to cut? You have to cut programming and you have to cut people in order to keep your nonprofit afloat. So I'm just super grateful about it. And
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, I hope that us having it on our website helped a little bit. Yeah, got $5 or $10 out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I think it did. And, you know, and we ran some ads through WXCO, and I think all of it helped. It's just the name recognition we've been doing this for over a year.
Yeah, at least.
At least. I don't know.
By the way, do you have any sense of time anymore? I
No.
don't. As I get older, I can tell, and I tell this all the time, but this is as a tangent. I can tell you what I was doing back in the 70s and the 80s much better than I can tell you the last 10 years.
Or what you had for dinner last night.
I mean, what year was it? 1 year ago? Was it 2 years ago?
I know. Isn't it weird?
It is weird. And it's crazy.
And our elders probably say it goes even faster.
I know.
Right?
I tell people all the time, I look down at my feet. I keep looking for a brake pedal
to
slow things down because it goes by so fast. But again, we're talking to Christine Daniels, Executive Director of the Good News Project here on WXCO. I don't even know how to go into this.
Oh, I will. I'll give you a really good segue. Because you did actually label me as the segue queen a couple months back.
I tell you,
so
you make my job so easy. I tell you,
the success of that fundraising coming at the end of 2025 was really essential, because we are heading to St. Lucia for a couple of weeks in January, which means I really don't have any time to do fundraising in January.
Right.
So taking a service trip of 17 people to St. Lucia, and our goals are to install a playground, which we had fundraised for the previous year and a half and sent down through the Denton Amendment Program, which is through the Air Force. And we are also building a resource center, and we are building a home for the janitor of the school that we're working at for 2 weeks.
Mm.
So we're really trying to focus on one community and getting to know people. And, I was telling my daughter last night, I was just kind of reflecting on this whole trip and what good news does and why it does it in an international landscape. And I said, now more than ever, I feel like people need to meet people that they don't know and they don't understand and get to a point where they're spending enough time with them that they can become friends and be like, oh, that person's actually not scary just because they're different from me. They're just different. But in the end, we all have families, we all try to have employment, and we have the same kind of stressors in daily life as someone who might be a different color and might speak a different language. And I think it's very important right now to have those types of friendships.
Let me ask you about that, because I think that within our lives, and I've seen stories about this, and especially for the kids, especially where you get so caught up in your phone or your computer, and it may feel like you're talking to people outside, but you're not.
Yeah.
You're not really learning the same way as if you are like this trip, to be able to truly almost embed within somebody's life.
Yeah.
I mean, we need more of that completely. And I think a lot of, again, some of the problems that we have that have led to, I think, a little bit more unfriendliness in the world.
That's a good way to put it, Chad.
That, like you say that, boy. And I think, and I've learned over the years, when you sit across from somebody, you may disagree passionately about something, but I think as human beings, we try to work through it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot easier when you learn about somebody that you're going to give them maybe even the benefit of the doubt, or the idea that I'm going to learn something. I mean,
exactly.
And you've done this so many times over the years, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, how is it? Let me put this in a different way. How has it changed you as a person? The experiences you've had, like you're going to have with this trip, because you've had these before. How has it changed you as a person?
Man.
Or is it just maybe exacerbated the qualities that you already have?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely changed me. It's changed so many things about my goals in life and what I find important and what I take value in. I remember like the very first time I went on a trip, I was a college student, so I wasn't even working for Good News Project, but I was going on a trip through Good News Project. And I remember walking through this nursing home in St. Vincent, and the first image on my right, I mean, this is like burned in my memory, is there's an elder in a wheelchair, naked, and there is one of the workers spraying him down with a hose. And, we were there to just kind of talk with the people. And I honestly think they were not expecting our group at that time, because I don't think they would have been doing that in that way. And yet that was the reality of these elders' lives. And then I go toward the back, and we were just like, we had one guy with a guitar, and we were just singing songs, and the folks don't get many visitors. They were singing along. It was wonderful. And there was this guy who was back in the far corner of this corridor, and he kind of beckons me over, and probably in his 80s or 90s, and he was missing a leg. And he starts talking to me. I can't understand a word he is saying, but he has the biggest smile on his face, and he just wanted somehow to communicate. And like, it's those moments that you grasp and that, like I said, are burned in your memory, that are like, what is this life really about? Like, how can I connect to this person that I've had no interaction with before, and I will probably never interact with again? Like, why was that so meaningful to me? And those happen every single time we go down.
And we don't think about that at all. And again, in a sense, we all have, as you said, we all have our own challenges. But man, as a human race, we got to think about that stuff. And by the way, something that you mentioned, how many folks are going on this trip?
17.
And also, they're paying their own way.
They are paying their own way. So this is important enough for them to not only take off time of work, so taking vacation, although there are some retirees, but we have students, college students, young adults who have full-time jobs, and Yep, they're paying their own way to go and serve other people for 2 weeks.
What do you see in these people? Because I mean, it's one thing for you to go there and to have these moments with the people, to see this people that you're going to get on this plane with, that you say, they this is not just a case, well, I think I might do it. You have to do a lot
Mhm.
of heavy lifting to make your life, to be able to go
Yeah.
down there and do this. What does it make you feel when you see these people? I imagine it must
Um
be just amazing that you're not alone in what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So, first of all, it's really easy to become a close knit team when you all have a similar goal.
Mm.
And the similar goal being like, hey, we want to build this, and build this. And do you have the skills that can help it? So, people are first coming in with the right skills, but they're also coming in with a service mindset. And so, you have connection with these folks from the get go because of that service mindset, because not
Mm.
every human being has that. And not every human being wants to do something like that. But I also see in everyone who goes, whether they are people who've returned from previous years or are new, that they're looking to fulfill something in their own lives. Um, and I get that. I mean, that I am
Mm.
still looking to, fulfill something that feels like it's missing. Whether that's learning something new and outside of the box thinking, or connecting with a new friend.
I think that is something that is so common, that, again, we've talked in the past about when you go to the store, you don't know what the story is behind
Mhm,
somebody. And when you just said that, I have to admit, I've been looking for something outside of my work to try to get involved with,
mhm.
that would add something to, I don't know, the soul, to
Yeah.
try to be more than just get through the week. Because I don't know, I can't remember. I can't remember whether it was on the air or off the air. We're talking about how life moves by so fast,
Yeah.
but I think it was on the air. But that it shouldn't be just about going through another week, and then
Mhm.
starting another week, or then starting another month, and starting another year. That there's got to be more to it. And I just find that to be a very interesting point that you're making. That I think that's very universal.
I think it is too. Yeah. And I think for young people, it might be stemmed more from adventure,
Yeah.
But I think as we get older, I mean, I am in my late 40s.
I wish I was there. I wish. Those are the good old days.
Yeah, late 40s are. There's just this sense of be, there being something more as a human being, and like, what
Yeah.
is that? And you try your whole first half of your life to, gain the American dream or whatever that is.
Again, that was part of the conversation we had in our online hour with Christine Daniels of the Good News Project. So, again, just an invitation that if you tune in here in the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, you enjoy what you hear. We have more that is strictly online from 9:06 until 10 a.m. On youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel, WXCO.FM, and the Civic Media app, and the Sports 2 stream. So, and coming up at 9:06 today over on our streaming hour, we'll be talking to Pat Kreitlow. So you'll want to hear that as well. Coming up, we will have a few more minutes here on 98.9 WXCO before we do make that transition. The time is 8:48, 36 degrees under cloudy skies. Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO.
Cause I saw the light
Chad Home Show, 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, Civic Media app, and also on YouTube, the 98.9 WXCO YouTube channel. With Ian Welsh, again, I am Chad Holmes. And Ian, last night, and something I always enjoy seeing is where young people grab a hold of the initiative to do something. And last night
I like that too.
Yeah, last night I made the trek over to Menasha because we had a Newman Catholic girls basketball game. It was against St. Mary Catholic High School over in Menasha in the Fox Valley area.
Okay.
And I get there and I meet up with the athletic director to get my spot to broadcast from. He says basically there's this one area up at the top of the bleachers. It's not a huge table, but there was enough room where I could make it work. And right next to it, right there as part of the table, was a setup for a broadcast that's done by students. Student broadcasters at St. Mary Catholic. And he was saying that it wasn't a case where they had this program. It was these kids who decided they wanted to broadcast. And they wanted to do it, so they basically made it happen themselves. So I had a chance to talk briefly to them and just say that, I thought that how great that is, and that I wish I was able to do something like that when I was at school. And they were very professional. And I had a picture on my social media, one of the kids wearing a tie and everything, and that's one of the things. That's one of my pet peeves. You want to look like
people
a professional.
Wearing ties?
I don't wear ties usually, but I don't wear jeans and just stuff that makes it look like you're not working. If you're going to be a professional, be a professional.
You want to dress the full attire. Right?
And those kids looked the part. They took it seriously. And I just thought that is, again, one of those nice stories that sometimes we just don't see, that there are kids out there that are doing those things that show initiative and
being proactive. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I hope they continue to delve into the exciting world of broadcasting and are able to continue to have fun doing it. And
so they were doing their broadcast alongside with you?
They were at the same table. We had separate broadcasts. So they did theirs.
It would be cool if you did like a collaboration on the spot there.
They do broadcasts on the YouTube channel for their school, so it's nice. So people can watch the game and also hear commentary as well. So I just thought that was a nice little aspect to my trek last night to do the high school basketball game. Real quickly, in the game itself, he's got a very good team that he follows because they follow. St. Mary Catholic is 13-0 on the season, number 1 ranked in the state in Division 4, and they beat the Newman Cardinals 79-35 last night.
Awesome.
Newman got 10 points from Brianna Schultz, 9 each from Aubrey Penton, Alexis Glenecki. Newman now 5-9 on the season. St. Mary Catholic 13-0. Cards will take on Marathon Thursday night, 7 p.m. You can hear that game with Tom Weaver on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. Also last night in high school sports, in girls basketball, Wausau East fell to Clintonville by a score of 70-57. Marathon in a significant game in the Marywood South defeated Auburndale 51-42. Mosinee was victorious last night. They stay atop the Great Northern Conference, beating Antigo 60-23. Rib Lake lost to Ladysmith last night by a score of 48-41. In boys basketball last evening, Edgar lost to Owen Withee 54-51. Mosinee beat Antigo by a score of 82-57. Also last night, it was Menominee Nation beating Port Edwards 86-19. And in girls hockey last evening, the Central Wisconsin Storm were victorious, beating Medford by a score of 6-2. Storm back in action tonight as well. They travel to Wisconsin Valley Union for a Wisconsin Valley Conference matchup. Tonight, I will have high school basketball, the Wausau West Warriors in action, Wausau West boys basketball. Wausau West 5-5 on the season will play host to Roncalli. And that's a team that's been in the state rankings up until this week. They dropped out actually this week, but a good non-conference opponent for Wausau West. Warriors and Roncalli. Want to note that the game is starting a little bit earlier than normal. Normally it's a 7:15 tip-off with the 7 o'clock pregame show. But tonight it will be a 6:30 tip-off, so I'll be on the air from the Westfield House at 6:06. So again, 6:06 airtime, 6:30 tip-off, Wausau West boys basketball tonight, taking on Roncalli right here on Central Wisconsin's, and I would say Wausau's only radio home for high school play-by-play, 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And again, why do we do that? Why do we decide that we're going to cover all these games, keep me so busy all the time?
It's because we are very, very proud to be the only local Wausau radio station that covers play-by-play action of high school sports.
Exactly right. So again, hopefully you can join us for the Warriors tonight against Roncalli. Again,
I love getting to say that.
Well, I love doing the game, so I love giving you that opportunity to say it as well. But a 6:06 airtime again, right here on 98.9 WXCO. Well, coming up, we're going to wrap things up here on 98.9 WXCO. Here on WXCO will be Greg Bach coming up. So if you stick around, Greg will be on with the mid-morning show here from 9 to 11. But if you want more of us, come on over. YouTube.com and the 98.9 WXCO YouTube channel.
It's going to be a very exciting hour, too.
Also, WXCO.FM. Go there or to the Civic Media app and go to the Sports 2 stream. Again, Sports 2 stream, the alternate stream, and you'll be able to hear us as well. And coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be back at 9:06 there, and we'll get a chance to talk about what's going on with Pat Kreitlow. Yeah. Good to hear from Pat Kreitlow. And I tell you, we're looking forward to talking about a lot of different interesting things. So Pat Kreitlow. And then, of course, we'll have our number of the day quiz. And the only way you can get it is to be with us on our stream. And then also we do post it as a podcast as well, the whole 2 hours coming up after 10.
That's right.
But stick around, come over, join us for more Chad Holmes Show, WXCO.
check, 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 check.
We can hear you.
Check, check, check. Oh, hi. Yes.
You hear us okay?
Apparently your personal equipment works just as well. Or is it still all your personal? It's the same stuff you used, right?
Yes.
You didn't have a bunch of civic media stuff you had to put in a big box and haul back to Madison.
No, nope, not at all. Just this nice little setup. I had to remember how it works here. So,
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our little introduction here. Then we'll bring you on after about a minute.
groovy.
All right, Pat. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Are we doing the full hour here, or just for a segment?
We're going to do at least half an hour if that works for you.
All right.
So we kind of see how things, because the good thing about it is no hard breaks here in this hour.
Yes, I know.
That's true.
Freedom.
Uh-huh.
All right. We'll go here in just a moment.
All righty.
All I need is a TV show and the radio.
Good morning once again, everyone, and welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Chad Holmes Show here on not on 98. I got to start it. It's so darn complicated sometimes, but no, we
You gotta
are
break the bed, having to get into a new routine, and
Yep.
it's not easy.
No, it's not. So, hour number 1, of course, is on 98.9 WXCO and online, but here in hour number 2, online exclusively. You can join us on YouTube, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Go to WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, and you can tune in on our alternate stream, the Sports 2 stream, and be able to hear us there as well. So, we'll be with you until 10 o'clock. I am Chad Holmes. He is Ian Welsh. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
Of course, coming up later in the hour, we'll wrap it up. We'll give you that quiz we give you each and every day. We'll have a number for the day, and we'll let you know whether we can get you on track here after a rough start yesterday. So that will be coming up at the end of the show. Also, real quickly, again, I want to remind folks that we got a couple of gubernatorial candidates coming up later in the week. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Again, to be honest with you, I did not really know that much about this young man, but he's decided to run for governor on the Democratic side, and we're going to give all the candidates an opportunity to join us. Last week, of course, we had David Crowley, and coming up tomorrow, we'll have the youngest Democratic candidate for governor, Zachary Roper. He'll be joining us for an interview tomorrow morning at 8:06 on 98.9 WXCO. And then coming up later in the week, Mandela Barnes, the former lieutenant governor, former candidate for the United States Senate, currently running for the Democratic nomination for governor. He'll be with us coming up. He's coming to Wausau for an event on Thursday, and then he's going to stop by here at our studios, and we'll record a discussion with him, and we'll air that on Friday morning starting at 8:06 as well. And we're also setting up some other discussions with other candidates as well as we get into the midst of 2026.
That's right.
And a guy that has his hand on the pulse of everything going on, especially 2026, is a guy that I know a lot of you folks love listening to every single morning, and we want to find out what's up with him. And we're very happy to welcome to our program Mr. Pat Kreitlow.
Scrape.
Pat,
Scrape. scrape, scrape. Oh, look, we're at the bottom of the barrel. He's got to bring a has-been back on. Hello, Chad.
Please. Pat, it is wonderful to hear from you. I got to say, I've been suffering withdrawals on Thursdays when I would always come on with you and get to banter about the news. So
yes, curmudgeon withdrawal is a real thing in the radio world, and so I'm happy to bring that spirited cynicism back to the airwaves of Sports Stream 2 and YouTube.
Hey, I needed a big name to try to get people to tune in off the radio.
Hey, it's a brave new world. I mean, I'm just an online broadcaster myself here right now, so this is we're all figuring out which lane we're supposed to be in on the new digital information highway here.
I wanted to ask you about what you're up to, because I know a lot of folks have been doing the same. Because I mean, I'm not just saying this to stroke the ego here, but I know a lot of folks here in Central Wisconsin always enjoyed starting their day off with you. And I guess the first question is, are you getting up as early? Are you sleeping in now?
The honest answer is yes, because I haven't. But look, again, what was the business model of my doing this? Why did I agree to a 6 a.m. radio show? I did it, as I've said repeatedly, is because now at my age, I'm getting up this early to pee anyway. I may as well get paid for it. That was the whole reason. So I'm still getting up. That part hasn't changed. What has changed is, when Sherry and I were still having our breakfast about 5:15, and by 5:30, she's got to start getting ready to head out the door, to go to clinic and see her patients and everything. And the difference is now I'm just kind of sitting there saying, here, can I pack a lunch for you or whatever, instead of, running around like the proverbial headless chicken from 5:30 until 6 a.m. going, what are we going to do today? Now it's, Sherry walks out the door at about 6 a.m. I still sit at my desk, but it's a little more leisurely now to decide what it is that I'll be putting together for Up North News on any given day.
It is different, though. Doing a 3-hour radio show in the morning is different. Than you have different ways of obviously being able to get your voice out there through Up North News and other venues. Do you miss that opportunity to really delve in over the longer form? I have to admit that I missed where I had this time to kind of stretch out a little bit, to be able to delve in a little bit deeper. As you said, I mean, we're in a different era now. There's different ways of doing that, but in terms of having that opportunity to speak with the people and to do it in that realm, I imagine it's a bit of a change.
It has been. I will freely admit to that. Now, I did come up with what I would consider a temporary or a bridge of between the old radio show and whatever it is that we're going to be doing permanently next at Up North News. And I said quite honestly back in December and to this day that, Up North News, our parent company, Courier Newsroom, they don't do anything on the fly. There are all kinds of meetings, product meetings, and you talk about marketing and editorial things and everything else. And so we do a lot of planning. And so we knew the radio show was going to be coming to an end, but we had not yet, essentially workshopped what will the next thing be. And I mean, what would you and I both say? Naturally, it would be what? A podcast. Let's just take the radio show, make it a podcast. Well, again, because we're still not sure, A, whether that will happen, B, how often will it happen, C, what will it look like, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm doing in the meantime is taking my own personal YouTube page and my own personal Facebook page and going on live at about 9 a.m. on many, but not all weekday mornings. And with a guest, it's been, of course, our friend, Dr. Kristen Lyerly. It's been our old colleague, Todd Alba. It has been, just a wonderful array of former, radio station regulars who were joining me. But so was gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong was on. Abigail Sweats from Fair, Wisconsin yesterday. On Thursday, I'm going to have both Sarah Godlewski, the Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor candidate, and Sean Fettiplace from Main Street Alliance, Main Street Action, joining me Thursday morning. And there is really something, I have to say, nice. I loved the 3-hour radio show. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But the fact that I'm really just mapping out 20, 25 minutes to have a good conversation with some of these folks, then what I do is then I essentially start my work day at Up North News. I take this interview that I just did live, that in the old days I would have done, I would have just recorded an interview. We've all recorded pre-recorded interviews. I just choose to do it live to kind of stay fresh and all that. And I turn it into, edit it down, and I turn it into stories that then get posted to the Up North News website, upnorthnewswi.com, social media, and things like that. So I'm still doing stories for Up North News. I'm still doing videos. It's just that those videos often are the result of some live interviews that I'm doing on my personal YouTube and Facebook pages.
Well, I've seen obviously now that you're just brand new into this, that your internet is not exactly working terrifically here. It's a little choppy here. I mean, we hear you fine, but you're looking like Max Headroom as I
Oh,
look at the video.
no. Oh, well, there you,
But no,
there you go, Spectrum. You're on notice.
I know. So that's I know how that goes.
Mhm.
But no, you're exactly right. I mean, there's so many different ways, and I've had a chance to tune into your I don't know if you can call it podcast or live streams or whatever you want to call it. But again, it's got that Pat Kreitlow feel to it. The discussions are still very, very, I think, relevant and very, very intriguing. So I would encourage folks. What's the best way for them to keep up? Is it through Facebook, or in terms of making sure that they keep up? Is it through Up North News website? Do you have that streamed on there too? I've seen it through your own personal your Facebook. Is there a best way to keep up to speed on it? Is it through Up North News?
I think it's Up North News is where you'll see everything that the whole team is doing, and you can certainly go to the Up North News website and the Up North News Facebook page. And then as far as where are the live broadcasts, the mini episodes, whatever we want to call them right now, that would be on not my personal Facebook page, but what I call my personal professional Facebook page, which I feel like everybody's getting. Everybody's got their blog. Everybody's got a YouTube channel. Everybody's got a newsletter. And in my case, the Facebook page that people would be looking for is facebook.com and then / Pat Kreitlow Up North, all one word, Pat Kreitlow Up North. If you search for that on Facebook, you can follow me there. And, that way you'll see the live stream when they pop up and everything else. I mean, just to muddy the waters, I will say the YouTube address, I wish they were the same, but they're not. The YouTube address is not Pat Kreitlow Up North. It's Pat Kreitlow Up North News. So, one way or another, we all find each other. I feel like there's going to be a lot of cross promotion of, as we all get guests, as we all put out our various newsletters and things like that, that people will be able to find you on Substack or find whatever platform it is that everybody chooses to emphasize, and hopefully still get information. It's just that it's such a much more, fractured, media landscape than ever before, which means more opportunities for more people to become podcasters or whatever. But it makes it a little bit tougher to find everything. You got to do a little bit more work. But, I'd like to think it pays off in that you are no longer limited to just whatever 2 or 3 stations are on the radio, whatever 2 or 3 cable channels you like. There's more choices than ever before.
I want to get into some of the news, but you just brought up something that kind of popped into my mind, because I do think it has to do, and one of the themes that I'm going to be talking about this year is the 250th anniversary of this country's founding and the Declaration of Independence.
We almost made it. We
almost
were
made
that close. Oh well. Anyway,
but based on what you just said, and I have to say I'm a little concerned, and I think in a lot of ways. You talked about, I think, the positive aspects in terms of, I would call a fractured media system that we now are in the midst of, where you can basically find, within very narrow pieces of the media landscape, maybe things and people that you want to listen to. But we don't have that same opportunity, I think, to have the coming together as well of a Walter Cronkite that we may have grown up with or whatever it may be. Is the way that technology is worked now, and also in terms of how the media is. I mean, I find myself, I have this media newsletter I get, and I got to admit it's scary stuff that some of the people, the billionaires that are consolidating things, and I think a lot of the foundational aspects of our country, part of that foundation is the media landscape, and there's a lot of scary aspects to it as we go into 2026, isn't there?
Well, there is, but I guess a slightly contrarian or a different point of view that I feel like we should remind ourselves of.
Mhm.
The what we'll call the Walter Cronkite model, the gatekeeper model. That there's one avuncular, that's the way it is, guy that we get our news from. That was actually a different, that was a blip in our media consumption history. Before TV came along, and before we all gelled, in that post-war, Cold War era around the one trusted voice of authority, keep in mind that in most cities had more than one newspaper, and that there was often a Democratic newspaper and a Republican newspaper. And before that, there were pamphleteers. And before that, there was a town square. And so I think we've always had a fractured or democratization, small d, of choices to get our information. But for a time when TV had its golden age, we all, gathered around the campfire like cave dwellers around that one TV set that had only 3 or 4 channels on it. And that was fine for its time, but we're not going back to that. We're never going to see an age like that in our lifetimes. We're going to see these myriad choices where essentially you decide, am I going to pick up the Democratic newspaper, the Republican newspaper? And you know what the really smart people did back then, Chad? They bought both.
Yeah.
They bought both. They paid 2 nickels and went through and said, oh, I get that. And oh, I get that. And oh, that's full of crap, or whatever the case may be. And that's what all of us are supposed to do as citizens. And if we're going to save this republic, we're going to need people to be more discerning, to listen to different points of view, so that, like you, when you hear a point of view on maybe some other station in your hometown, you can share with your listeners that you think that's garbage. But, they're going to have to listen for themselves and determine that.
One kind of final question about, I think, in this topic. One of the aspects I think that we've heard from way back in the formation years of this country up until now is the need for a truly educated electorate.
Yes.
And one aspect that has been concerning is the fact that I think what Donald Trump and many of the folks on the MAGA right have tried to do is to take away some of the aspects of education. But I don't think it's just the Trumpism that has led to maybe some of the lack of knowledge in order to go into a voting booth and choose candidates that truly do the things that you would like to see done within your communities and within your states and countries. It's also the fact that people are not getting that information. And I don't know whether nowadays, so much of it is this AI and everything else. That's concerning as well. How do we go about, but I think going back to what you were saying back in the days where you had Democratic newspapers, Republican newspapers, the town square, there were so many ways that people actually went and got that information.
They wanted the information, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if do we want it now?
No, because there's so many options. They want to watch ridiculousness. They want to watch people, fall off their skateboard while riding a rail, and they fall on their crotch and everybody laughs at them. And, that entertainment is fine. Infotainment is another thing that we really have out there with basic cable, talking heads who often are talking out their backsides when it comes to facts and things. But you can't make people be good news consumers. You have to simply provide that opportunity and sell it. You have to have marketing and promotion that says, look, we're the place you want to turn to, what you want to read, what you want to listen to, what you want to watch. And then people will or will not gravitate towards you in that way. One of the downsides of having all this information and all these options is that people will pick what they want rather than what they need. When there were only 3 channels, it was very, very easy for, the news directors at those places to say, let's give people what they need. Here's the information you need to know. Now it's, what do you want to know? It gets to the whole thrust of that Tony Dokoupil taking over at the CBS Evening News and saying, we're going to give people what they want rather than what, we think is relevant to the news.
Or experts. Oh, terrible.
Yes. Oh, we can't have those. Heaven forbid we have experts who know what the hell they're talking about on here. It is, in fact, a dumbing down that is part self-inflicted, but also part intentional by the, the billionaires and the shareholders who run our media companies. And again, all we can do, those of us who care, is put out the best product possible, but then don't just, as as the saying goes, don't just fart into a mitten. You actually have to get out there and trumpet yourself. You have to promote this. We are good at this, and you should be watching, listening, reading to us. And the ones that can do that and attract an audience are the ones that are going to thrive. Not necessarily the best, and not necessarily the worst and the loudest, but the ones who can, care about their product and build an audience for it at the same time.
It's actually funny now that you're on with me, because yesterday I was saying I heard this comment that I found concerning, and I couldn't remember where I heard it. And now that I see you, I remember now it was on your show. It was actually, you had mentioned, I'm almost certain, if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but that you had talked to somebody that you had known, either a friend or somebody that you'd known a while back. And this person had said that they know that Donald Trump lies, but they really want it to be the truth.
Oh yes, that was somebody very close to me, and it was a very dark moment. This is a person that I was very close to, and we were a little less close after that when this person said, "Yeah, they probably all lie, but I want to believe, what he's saying, even though he still thinks it's a lie." And it was very telling.
And that's, again, so I think a part of where we are as a society right now, it's not only those on the far right, but there are some on the far left or within the middle, wherever you may be, that you just want something to be so true, instead of using your own knowledge and using your intelligence and trying to get to the real truth.
And frankly, a lot of it is what they want to believe is they want to believe that they're a victim. There is so much victimhood out there by white Americans, by white middle-aged guys, by people with money who see themselves as victims. Government is coming after my money, and this whole victimization of wanting to believe that there's this big bad government after you, or this minority group that is coming for your job, or whatever the case may be. And to me, that just shows a real weakness. If you're willing to embrace the talking point that, yeah, I'm a victim because of my skin color or my gender, rather than the place of privilege that you actually occupy, a lot of that's on you. And I would just, again, urge you to take a closer look at your life, at the history of the world, at the media landscape, and do a better job.
And I think that leads into and again, it's actually so many things going on right now, but I was glad to see actually this morning that you had posted about a story that I caught last night myself, talking about, again, the fact that right now we are in the midst of a white nationalist government, and what Donald Trump said concerning the poor white people of this country.
Yes. Won't somebody think of the white people, please?
But it just shows again where we are. And frankly, we have to use, and something that I always respected you when I listened to you in the mornings as I was getting ready, is the fact that you're very straightforward. And right now, to be very straightforward, this truly is a white nationalist government.
Of course it is, yes.
I think so many people put their heads in the sand that this is somehow within the normal political spectrum. This is something this country has not seen since, I would say, especially the civil rights movement, but I would go back to the 1800s. We have never seen a true white nationalist government like this in well over a century.
Right. And the what prompted it was a New York Times story that says Trump says civil rights led to white people being, quote, very badly treated. To which, of course, the natural response is give me a break. But it helps show a line of thinking that predates Trump. It's just that he was able to convince enough people that, yeah, you're a victim here and they're taking your jobs, whoever the they happens to be. And the thing I've really noticed in 2025, when Trump came back into power, was how many people kind of embraced not the blatant racism, but the very subtle things that they're willing to excuse. I think none more so than to say, well, if all these people didn't come here illegally, we wouldn't have to chase them down. Well, they wouldn't be here illegally if we had immigration reform, and your guy killed it on purpose so that he could have this race-based secret police round 'em up policy that is getting people killed in this country now. And so I just want people to look at themselves and at what they're willing to tolerate much more closely and say, you know what, maybe I did believe at one point that, somebody else was getting a leg up on me because I was white and they weren't. But, when I look at the situation now, my destiny is really in my own hands, and it's not worth it to be blaming somebody else.
Let's talk about Minneapolis because, again, it just shows, I think, a massive gap within this country. The fact that so many people, and there's a lot of people that can say, well, somehow she deserved it.
Yeah.
And that she caused it. And I mean, it's disgusting, but I'm going to ask a basic question. What is the one thing that you've taken away from what's happened the last week the most out of this Minneapolis story?
Oh, the hypocrisy of the Don't Tread on Me group, the hypocrisy of the Second Amendment group. These were people who promised that the whole reason they exist is to defend all of us against a government that attacks its citizens. And the fact of the matter is, what we're now learning is you all never meant it. You meant if and when we get into power, we're going to use violence against our political opponents. And the way we get into power is by scaring the voters into thinking it's our political opponents who are itching to use violence and we conservatives are the innocent victims. That's baloney. We saw through that from the beginning, but thanks to billionaires who've been using you as pawns for their own political ends, you now get to be the very jackbooted thugs that you pretended were being used against you back in the day.
The idea, and again, frankly, the pushback has not been as much as I think that's necessary in a sense that we have masked armed folks.
We have a paramilitary.
In major cities in this country. And also the fact that we have a president that's decided that he's going to only go into cities that he considers Democrat cities.
Right.
That yet there is still way too much of a sense of normalcy when it comes to this.
Right.
Frankly, this is craziness that we probably never thought. I was saying to somebody the other day that we remember over the years seeing television footage, watching the news, where you would see some country off, wherever it may be, with people that looked exactly like these ICE agents going around and basically in the midst of civil wars and in the midst of
this is Bull Connor and the dogs, during the civil rights era. This is that. And the richness of Donald Trump to say, well, we might have to go bomb Iran, because of the way that they're killing protesters. Really? Is that the justification? Because I think you got a problem here at home, Pally. But let's understand what Donald Trump has created with ICE. This isn't some simple expanded arm of traditional law enforcement. This is a new officially sanctioned militia with a newly exploded budget, which, by the way, is funded by cutting Medicaid and all the other things that made health insurance affordable. Right. The funding instead goes for Donald Trump to have a private militia that goes where he tells them to go, not based on actual law enforcement priorities, but based on political whims. That's an authoritarian. That's a strongman. That's a wannabe dictator. So when I joke about America didn't quite make it to 250, it's really not that much of a joke. I mean, we'll get there in name only next July 4th, but it's really up to us to restore an actual democracy with norms when it comes to law enforcement and the judiciary. And if we don't, then it's like we always say, there was no one date that the Roman Empire fell. It fell in drips and drabs over the course of many, many years. And that's what people are going to look back on in terms of America if we don't stop this continued slide into authoritarianism.
One of the aspects that this seems to be a sort of a microcosm of where we are. I saw this story, I think last day, I wish I had it in front of me, about that there's some sort of international meeting that's been postponed because Donald Trump is hosting an MMA
event, for his birthday.
Is that like the microcosm of where we are right now? It's the White House during our 250th anniversary is going to be hosting an MMA event that is forcing our allies to postpone important international meetings
People
so
who
we
have
can have
seen
this event.
People who have seen the movie will understand the reference right away. If you have not seen Idiocracy, you have to go, you have to rent it, stream it, whatever the case may be. You have to watch Idiocracy, which it started out as a comedy and now is more of a documentary that looks ahead 500 years, when actually it didn't take 500 years, for the presidency to become essentially a reality TV show. And at what point they decide the fate of a political opponent by putting him in a monster truck meet against a guy named Nacho Supreme. And that's all I could think of when I heard about this, is that Trump basically wants, that equivalent of a monster truck thing, an MMA fight, and all the other world leaders have to just go, okay, well, I guess we can reschedule, it's going to be sponsored by Brondo. It's what plants crave. Again, Idiocracy, great movie. Got to watch it.
Let me put a political analyst hat on your head here. If somebody from the National Democratic Party came to you and said, what is the best way to respond in 2026 in the run-up? Because I get this sense that a lot of the Democrats are just willing to try to say, well, we're going to give Trump as much rope as possible and then use that to get a big victory in November. My thought is that if you just do that, then you're getting ready for the inevitable pendulum swing back, because you're not standing for anything.
Right.
They're afraid if they say anything that they're going to lose some of the advantage that they're getting because Trump is right now so unpopular. What do you think the opposition party should be trying to accomplish in the run-up over the next 10 months, but not just for an election, but for this country as a whole?
Yeah, I think it just needs to be essentially a messaging machine. I recall that we had Jennifer Schulze on in like Trump's second week in office or something, and she said, what Democrats need to do is they basically need to have a daily broadcast, and it doesn't have to be the same person. It doesn't have to be Hakeem Jeffries every day. It can be but just there has to be a press availability every single day that does both things. It both responds to the ridiculousness of what we're seeing out of this administration, and also says, now here's what we do different. Now here's what we should be doing differently. And when you hit actual proposals that hit on actual American values around, things like fairness and respecting education, you're going to make that connection with people. We've got to keep in mind, Donald Trump did not get 50% of the vote. He got about 49%. Kamala Harris got 48 something or another. They are governing as if they had won a landslide when they didn't. He just barely squeaked in there. It will not take much to flip Congress in this midterm, and it will not take much to flip, the White House the next time around. But to do that, you have to stay in constant contact with the American people by telling them your take on what's happening and what you would do differently. And I'm not seeing nearly the aggressive messaging that I feel there should be, short of course, fundraising emails and texts. Yeesh.
Yep, I know that 100%. Based on that, what you just said, there must be numbers out there that say, boy, things are not looking good for Republicans. If Derek Van Orden breaks from Donald Trump and Mike Johnson and votes for an extension of the ACA subsidies, because that was one that I did not have on my bingo card.
Oh, I mean, not really, and here's why. And I can say this as a former legislator. the concept of what's known as the free pass. And I saw this in the 2009 state budget, where, again, Senate Democrats, we had a 4-vote majority. So we could afford to lose, quote unquote, 3 votes. And we knew that the 2010 political landscape wasn't looking all that great. And so when it came up time for the state budget, which was written by Democrats in the majority, but the thing was, and this isn't the one kind, this is everywhere. This is every state capital, Democrats, Republicans alike do this, is they go, okay, well, we can afford to lose 3. So who are our 3 most vulnerable members in this next election? And if they want, we give them a free pass to vote against us, to say, nope, I'm a Democrat. It was a Democratic written budget, but I'm voting no on it because of A, B, and C. And Republicans do the same thing. And so those 17 House Republicans that voted yes last week, Look, nobody likes when we get cynical about politics. And sometimes, actually, many times, I think people are being too cynical about politics. This is not one of those times. This is the very heart of cynicism in politics, is that they go, okay, Van Orden, you are hanging on by a thread. And I mean, and you keep whacking at that thread all the time with your Twitter keyboard. So how about if we save you from yourself and you vote yes on this so that you look like you have a level of compassion back home that does not actually exist. And so don't give that member of Congress any credit. He got the free pass, he took it, but his words have made clear, his campaign website to this day makes clear he would like to rip the Affordable Care Act away, stem to root, and he has nothing to replace it with that will help people afford their health care. So that vote from him last week was as phony as a $3 bill.
Does Derek Van Orden have a base still in that part of the state? You live
sure.
there. I mean,
sure. There are Trumpers everywhere.
I mean, is it enough? Do you think that because based on, again, his behavior should have been disqualifying from the very beginning.
Yeah, but remember, people there's so many people that love this stuff. They love when Trump swears. They love the fact that the January 6th domestic terrorists were pardoned. These are people that, again, you did not think were out there, and it turns out that they are. So there is nobody who should take for granted that Democrats are going to make some great gains in 2026. It's only going to come through work. If you just simply say, look at those crazy Republicans, that's not going to get it done. You've got to provide better alternatives. You've got to provide examples where these are people who go, well, I voted for Trump because he was going to go after waste, fraud, and abuse. I didn't expect that he was going to cut, my Medicaid. I didn't expect that he was going to jack up my health insurance costs, because right now, that base will give Derek Van Orden the benefit of the doubt until you show the concrete ways in which their lives are made worse because he's representing them in Congress.
I mean, it goes along the lines of, people only care about the issue when it happens to them. If it happens to everybody else, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's the
But it's
Republican
Well,
Party.
if it happens to me, then it's a problem. But if it's happening to somebody else, no, I don't care about it. It's like, how can people think like that?
Well, they do. And Pat, I mean, you as when you were as an elected official, one of the things that I think is the major differences between the parties is that, I mean, I go back again. One of my favorite examples of this kind of thinking is Nancy Reagan. She didn't give a darn about Alzheimer's or anything else until her husband got it.
Right.
And that's the way it is for Republicans. But you can't govern that way. You can't govern where the only things you care about are things that affect you personally. You, as an elected official, need to look at the entirety of your constituency, but it never is that way. That's the only way that Republicans ever govern. And that is something that always really just makes me pull my hair out.
Oh, yeah. And look, I can't teach you to care is kind of something I say a lot about when I look at people on the extreme right. I can't make you care if you're going to see caring as a sign of weakness, if you're going to see compromise as a sign of weakness, if you're going to see even negotiation as a sign of weakness. That is, an alpha male, toxic masculinity mindset going into government that will never serve us well. It is the difference between politics and governing. There is a time for politics, but when the votes are counted and it's time to govern, we're supposed to be doing it in a way that shows we all care for one another. Somewhere on this bookshelf behind me, one of the things I've got to start doing with these new little live mini casts is I'm going to have a book club just of the books on my shelf that I either have read or one of these days I've got to get around to finishing. And there is a great one from David Durenberger, a former Republican senator from Minnesota. He would not recognize this party today, because it was all about, what was it called? The book is called When Republicans Were Progressive Too, because Republicans wanted to solve problems. They just maybe disagreed on the way to go about them, as opposed to too many people either want to deny that there's a problem or to say the answer is pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just, block any effort of using our tax dollars in a way that actually helps more of society. And I don't know that we can get back to that, but we have to increase that level of caring and of understanding that government can be a force for good when good service-driven people are in government.
And I guess that kind of leads to the final point I want to talk to you about is you had a rather, I think, a very strong response to the idea of an article that you saw saying never forgive Tim Walz for what he did back during the COVID pandemic, that there were people in Minnesota that would never forgive him for that. And you came out swinging at that.
Both barrels, yes.
Right, but I thought it was exactly
absolutely
right
did.
because now as we go further and further away from it, there's this thought that the actions taken by the Anthony Fauci's of the world and others were somehow so wrong, and that if we get into a situation again, and frankly, if you have the kind of thinking that we have right now in government in the United States of America, it's not a matter of if, but when we have some sort of medical catastrophe that occurs, that the idea will be, well, let's do nothing until we have to do something. And again, we are at a point in this country's history where that kind of thinking is going to lead to a lot of pain.
And it really comes back again to the notion of public service, which is in the pandemic, what we were trying to do. And now we see, like in the case of all of the Somali American fraud chatter in Minnesota, as I said in the post, hey, breaking news, kids. White people commit fraud too, and in far greater numbers. But you've got this cynical political mindset, that says, well, look at them, And the thing is, where did this come from? It came from the outsourcing of services that could have been done by government. But you've got a mindset that says, oh, no, government can't be doing this. Let's outsource it to private agencies and private companies. Well, those private agencies and companies, they don't get the same oversight as, the way you can audit a government agency. And so you've set the conditions up perfectly. And I got to tell you, if you're upset about the misuse of taxpayer funds by outsourced entities, have I got news for you about voucher schools. So if you're complaining about fraud in Minnesota, you need to know that there's nearly $1 billion of tax money a year going into private schools that are equally unaccountable and not transparent. And I'm not saying those private schools can't exist, but they don't need my tax dollars. They can go raise that money on their own. But this is about what our tax money should be funding, the services we should be providing, from education to public health to enforcement, that we're not getting ripped off. These are all things that happen when you use government to govern rather than to rule or pilfer, as we're seeing in this day and age.
And I guess finally, what are your thoughts on Tim Walz retreating from that race and what it says again, just generally, because he's a guy that impressed me immensely. I had a chance to talk to the guy during the campaign after he became vice president. He's a guy that seems like who has his heart in the right place and talks about doing the right things, and he gets run out. And in the same way that a guy like Donald Trump never gets run out. Again, it's a sad situation.
Oh yeah, Al Franken would be another example of that. I mean, there's one side that has some honor. Well, let me say from the overall standpoint that I was not a fan of Tim Walz running for a third term, but that was for political reasons. Except for a guy named Tommy Thompson, governors have a very tough time, a very high bar when it comes to winning a third term. And I'm always one that is saying, maybe it's time to let the next group come on board. So a third term is going to be tough, even if all of these fraud cases didn't exist. What I will say, though, is that I don't know whether Tim Walz could have done a better job of oversight and enforcement. It seems pretty clear that was lacking, but I believe that it was lacking because we have, again, a conservative mindset that cuts oversight and enforcement in the name of red tape. The red tape that keeps me from filling in a wetland if I want to, those bureaucrats and their pesky regulations. And so you cut these agencies to the bone. And so one of the things they cut is enforcement, oversight, transparency. And that's how we get into this trouble. I raised the point in my post that in Joe Biden's last year in office, when they increased the number of IRS enforcers out there who were chasing down wealthy tax cheats, they found $1.1 billion and brought it back to the taxpayer from only 1,600 wealthy fat cats. Again, $1.1 billion. The year before, it was only $38 million. From $38 million to $1.1 billion by going after the enforcement of tax cheats who are at the highest levels of the income scale. One of the first things Trump did was got rid of that. When you get rid of enforcement and oversight, we all end up paying for it in the end, whether it's in Minnesota or whether it's from a national standpoint. And we just need, again, people who are in office that understand we're going to provide these services, but we're also going to have oversight for these services. And if we do that right, we're going to be able to provide so much more in a much more efficient manner and not have the kinds of things like what we're seeing in Minnesota right now that have forced a good man to, abandon his bid for a third term.
And finally, I guess one more point here, because you just mentioned it, and I think it goes back to something that I know that you talked about last year, or 2024 now, or 2026, in terms of the failures of the Biden administration to be able to communicate properly some of the things that they were able to do. I think it's kind of more, it's more of a two-sided in a sense that, number one, I agree with you that a lot of the things that helped that point you just said, that help the average voter, but also some things involving transportation and fees that the Biden administration for their consumer protection that they were able to do, that where I consider small things, but they're big things when you all add them up. Number one, I agree that they did not tout them enough, but I would also argue as well that even if they were more effective in terms of trying to get the word out, unfortunately, in our media landscape, I don't know if people would have talked about it they would have reported it, because we have these editorial meetings. Would they have reported it at the level of some of this other stuff as well, because of the mindset that we have in terms of the entertainment value?
Well, it kind of comes back to what I said when I talked about promoting what you're doing, whether it's a new show, a podcast, a newsletter, and rather than just hope that people hear about it. There was far too much hoping on the part of people in the Biden administration that if they just put out the bullet points, look at all these cool things that we did, that the media would simply report on them. And it just doesn't work that way. And so somewhere along the line, you basically have to have that marketing budget, if you will, and people should have been almost sick to death of seeing all the commercials that talked about what was done through the American Rescue Plan, through the bipartisan infrastructure law, through the CHIPS and Science Act, and all the little things that that airlines couldn't rip you off, and the ticket masters of the world couldn't rip you off, and hit them over and over and over again. And they didn't. They counted on, the media to simply talk about it and a few political ads. And that is just not how you communicate in this day and age. You have to be absolutely crazy in terms of getting the word out about yourself to as many places as possible. And, hopefully the next Democratic administration will take that lesson to heart.
By the way, just to wrap it up here, it's crazy as well that you have an administration and the people that support them that seem to be actually pro being ripped off.
Yeah.
But they have no problem with allowing some of these massive corporations to rip you off, because that seems to be the plan, that this administration wants to be able to let those people rip you off.
And you'd love to see the news stories going, Trump administration brings back the ability to rip you off. But they don't. They move on to other things.
Who are you talking to the rest of this week for people to keep an eye out for?
Sean O'Malley, who is a Hudson native. I've known him since high school. He went on to Wall Street to have a very good career there in financial compliance. He kind of had an inside view of all the things that happen on Wall Street with the bubble bursting, and he's now a kind of a big deal consultant. And so he comes on every so often to talk about the economy. So we'll talk about economic stuff tomorrow, 9 a.m. on my Facebook page, Pat Kreitlow Up North. And then on Thursday, we'll talk to Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski and Sean Fettiplace from Main Street Alliance about small business priorities in these final weeks of the legislative session. On Friday, we'll visit with Dr. Kristen Lyerly, just like we did on Fridays on the radio show. We'll talk about things that are in the news from a healthcare standpoint, and then just other, tomfoolery. And then next week, we'll start to bring back Mark Jacob and Jennifer Schulze talking about, the way the media covers various things and how to be a more savvy media consumer when it comes to all the political news that's happening out there. And then I'll turn all those things into stories that you'll find over at Up North News as well.
Fantastic. It's always great to hear the voice and great to talk to you, Pat.
You as well.
Again, best of luck as you continue your work with Up North News, and folks, I'm sure will be following along with those very interesting guests as well. But appreciate you spending the hour with me.
You bet. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Ian. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Absolutely.
Take care, Pat.
That is Pat Kreitlow. And again, make sure you follow him as well as you continue getting the information you need to be a proper citizen, I think, in 2026.
Absolutely.
Well, we got a few more minutes left here, Ian. Let's kind of jump in here and take a look at what's happened on this date in history. As let me pull it up here. Actually, I lost my spot here. Okay, here we go. Some of the famous events that have occurred on this date in history. It is January the 13th. If you're like me, I love reading, and I remember reading Team of Rivals, Doris Kearns Goodwin, about the cabinet that was formed around Abraham Lincoln. Basically, some of his political rivals brought into the government, one of which was Salmon P. Chase. And he was a guy that thought he was smarter than Lincoln. He ran for president and did not win. He was never truly happy. He was a guy that was Secretary of the Treasury. He did a great job there. He later became the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. And even as Chief Justice, he was not satisfied. He still wanted to be President of the United States. But in the end, he never got that dream. Well, it was on this date in 1808 that he was born. So again, Salmon Chase, again, Secretary of the Treasury from 1861 to 64 in Abraham Lincoln's cabinet, and then United States Chief Justice from 1864 to 1864 to 1873. And Lincoln handled him so brilliantly in that book. I mean, just the way that he was able to handle this guy that was just so egotistical and wanted so much more than he already had so much, but very interesting individual.
Absolutely.
Also, on this date in 1942, American industrialist Henry Ford patented plastic automobile construction, so changing the way that automobiles were constructed.
Yeah.
On this date in 1968, Johnny Cash recorded the album Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison in front of an audience of some 2,000 inmates. Its success helped Cash to reestablish himself as one of country music's most relevant artists. On this date in 1990, Douglas Wilder was sworn in as governor of Virginia, making him the first popularly elected African-American governor of the United States.
There you go.
And on this date, hard to believe, 5 years ago today, Donald J. Trump became the first U.S. president to be impeached twice, after the House of Representatives approved an article of impeachment that accused him of encouraging his supporters to storm the Capitol in an effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. And of course,
it's only a matter of time before he gets it thrice.
Continue to break that record. But he was later, of course, acquitted by the United States Senate. All right, let's do our number of the day quiz.
Yes.
And every day we give Ian Welsh an opportunity to take the quiz. We give him three choices, I should say. So based on the math, he should be able to get 1 out of 3 right. So at the end of the week, if he gets 33% correct, then he has a passing grade. If he gets more right than wrong, he gets a winning week. If he gets all right but one, it's an A grade. And then if he gets all of them correct, that's a perfect week. He gets that gold star for the perfect week. All right.
Okay.
It was on this date in history that the Miami Dolphins completed the only perfect NFL season. Wow. They won all their regular season games. They won all their playoff games, and
Okay.
then they won the Super Bowl, beating Washington 14-7.
Cool.
Okay, in what year
Oh, another year
did the
question.
Miami
Okay.
Dolphins finish up their perfect season? And it was January the 14th of what year? I should say
13th or 14th?
It's, I actually got this wrong because it was actually the 14th, but we're going to still use it because it'll be this will be, I'll use something else
Okay.
tomorrow. So it'll be, tomorrow in history, the Miami Dolphins finished their first perfect season.
What year?
And what year did this occur, the date? But it was not for the season because the season was basically the fall, the year before. But
Okay.
this was the date of the year, January the 14th of what year did the Dolphins beat Washington and win that Super Bowl?
Okay.
All right, your choices are
All right.
1973, 1981, 1985. So 1973, 1981, or 1985.
Okay.
Did Miami finish off the perfect NFL season?
1973, 1981, or 1985. You know what? I'm going to say, final guess, I'm going to go with 1981. Final answer, I'm going with 1981.
The Miami Dolphins had a perfect season in the 1972 season, so it occurred in this
73.
tomorrow's date in 1973.
73.
All right, you got some work to do the rest of the week.
Yeah, I got to stay focused.
Hey, tomorrow morning we'll be joined to start off the show at 8:06 by the youngest Democratic candidate for governor, Zachary Roper. He was 22. I'm not sure if he celebrated number 23 yet. We'll find out. But we'll find out what's he thinking. A kid like this running for governor. Find out about that tomorrow morning. We'll also be back with our first hour on WXCO 98.9 and online. Again, don't forget you can also get all of the show on YouTube, both first hour and second hour. So again, have a great rest of your day, Ian.
You too, Chad. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
And don't forget, Wausau West basketball tonight, taking on Roncalli, 6:06 airtime on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. So until tomorrow, have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Friend, 'cause you